Apple Card is the perfect card for your holiday shopping. When you use Apple Card on your iPhone, you'll earn up to 3% daily cash back on every purchase, including products at Apple like a new iPhone 16 or Apple Watch Ultra. Apply now in the Wallet app on your iPhone. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
Is it time to reimagine your future? The right business skills may make a difference in your career. At Capella University, we offer a relevant education that's designed to focus on what you need to know in the business world. We'll teach professional skills to help you pursue your goals, like business management, strategic planning, and effective communication. And you can apply these skills right away. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
February 15th, 2013 started like any other day for the 1.2 million people who live in the Russian city of Chelyabinsk.
It was a crisp winter's day, pretty cold out, nice blue sky.
Dr. Robin George Andrews is a trained scientist turned author and science writer.
Perfectly normal day. But then suddenly, an increasingly bright, burning white light was like arcing across the sky, leaving this like vaporous trail. It would have looked like a missile.
Chelyabinsk is the sleepy administrative capital of a region in southwestern Russia. Until this moment, it was best known, if it was known at all, for being home to one of the worst nuclear accidents in history. Now this light, streaking across its sky, was getting brighter and brighter.
And then a large, deafening explosion. The ground lit up red and white. People were knocked off their feet. Eardrums would be ringing. It would have thudded on your chest like if you fell off a bridge into some water or something. Immediately terrifying.
Residents in the streets shrieked with panic. At least one person screamed, "It's the end of the earth." Roofs collapsed. Windows shattered in buildings in 6 different cities as far as 30 miles away. Over 1,000 people were injured. And it made news all over the world.
It looked like a scene from a movie, but it was all too real.
A bright speck in the sky, and then all hell broke loose.
Some thought it was a nuclear attack. Some thought it was an alien invasion.
It basically exploded with the force of like a non-radioactive nuclear weapon. It was a huge explosion.
And what was it?
It was a very tiny asteroid.
Like how tiny?
About the length of a bowling alley, like no bigger than 60 feet, which for space is very small.
And we had no idea it was coming, right?
Nope, no one saw it. It was too small.
This small asteroid was nevertheless the most destructive one to hit the planet in over a century. And it was almost much worse. We were lucky the asteroid exploded in the sky before it hit the ground. We were also lucky it wasn't the length of 2 bowling alleys.
Like, if Chelyabinsk asteroid was twice as big and it hit that city would be in pieces.
And you said, like, it's a tiny asteroid? Like, what's a normal-sized asteroid, and what do they do?
A normal kind of asteroid, you know, a football stadium, that's a normal size. That's a pretty normal asteroid. If it hit near or a populated area, it would cause the worst disaster in human history.
And how many people, like, if it hit a city, would they be estimated to kill?
Hundreds of thousands to tens of millions, depending on where it hits, yeah. And like, immediately, it would be coming in so fast and it would be so massive that if it hit a city, there would be a city 10 seconds before, and then afterwards there would not be a city. It would eviscerate it. So these asteroids are appropriately known as city killers.
And they're normal.
That's normal.
These normal-sized city killers are hard to see, too. And there are way more of them floating around out there than anyone could like.
There's like a few tens of thousands of them orbiting near Earth. If you live to 100 years old, there's like a 1 in 200 chance of a city killer hitting somewhere random on Earth during your lifetime. Now, that's not that high.
It's not that low, man.
That's not that low. That's not that low.
So, like, how worried about this should I be? I'm getting worried about this just talking to you about it.
It's a problem that exists, but unlike any other natural disaster, this is actually the one that you can completely prevent from happening, the world could be saved.
This is Decoder Ring. I'm Willa Paskin. Sometimes what's going on in the world can be so bad that it feels like we're plunging off a cliff, or we're trapped on a runaway train, or we're about to be pancaked by a giant asteroid. But funnily enough, actually being pancaked by a giant asteroid, not something you need to spend a whole lot of time worrying about. And that's because a bunch of experts and scientists are already worried about it for us. A couple of years ago, Dr. Robin George Andrews began following exactly these people as they attempted to do the unheard of: physically alter outer space. Robin's a trained volcanologist, someone who studies volcanoes, but he could not resist the allure of this story, which he turned into his new book, How to Kill an Asteroid, and which he's going to tell us all about right now. So today on Decoder Ring, if an asteroid is hurtling towards Earth, what are we going to do about it? This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You choose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with the rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. This episode is brought to you by Saks.com. There's joy in finding the perfect gift for the ones you love, but it can be a challenge. Saks.com's holiday gift guide makes it easy. Whether you're surprising your hard-to-shop-for sister with a Chloe bracelet bag or gifting your partner a memorable scent from Gucci, at Saks.com there's holiday inspiration for every personality on your list. Saks.com does make it really easy to find inspiration. I was just on their site, and like they say, it is organized like a gift guide. They have all sorts of fun categories like cozy weekend vibes and weekend uniforms and kids pick that curate whole looks for you or your loved ones. Saks.com's hand-picked guide can help take the stress out of the holidays. Add instant cheer to your home with some bright decor or bundle up in a scarf coat from Totem to stay warm all season long. Find gifts guaranteed to bring joy to everyone this holiday season at Saks.com. That's Saks.com for the ultimate holiday gift guide and all the shopping inspiration you need. The fear that the Earth could be rocked by a giant space rock is an anxiety that pops up all the time in fiction and that's grounded in fact. It's in action movies and sci-fi novels, in science classes and geology lessons. But before we could be scared of asteroids, we had to learn what they are. What is an asteroid?
An asteroid is basically the trash left over from the birth of the solar system. It's just the crap that didn't get put into something. They're kind of a mixture of the building blocks of planets. There are millions of them between Mars and Jupiter. That's where most of the asteroids hang out. It's just the ones that don't hang out there that are the problem.
Sometimes one of these rocky, metal, icy clumps, moving at speeds of tens of thousands of miles per hour, leaves the so-called asteroid belt and heads towards us.
Earth is at the end of a shooting gallery, so Earth gets hit all the time by tiny rocks that are like, you could fit them in the palm of your hand kind of thing. If you look up on a dark, clear night, you can often see a shooting star. That's an asteroid, basically.
So when did we put together that those things we've been seeing in the sky for millennia were actually asteroids?
So the first asteroid was discovered only about 200 years ago, so in 1801. Surprisingly recent.
Yeah.
Compared to things like planets and moons, they are just so much harder to see. They don't stay in the same part of space often, and they're just smaller.
It took another century and a half for scientists to realize that asteroids could do a lot of damage. At that point, they were starting to think about the moon. and about how we might get there. They noticed that the moon was seriously pockmarked, like a major crater face. And they began to put together that asteroids might be to blame.
Scientists started to really get an idea that, like, okay, things in space can crash into other things really fast, and we're in space, so yikes.
So, like, this is when we started to worry about asteroids for real?
I think, honestly, even then it was still, like, fantastical.
That is our target, the asteroid's weakest point.
Asteroids became the stuff of science fiction, like this 1968 episode of Star Trek, in which the crew tries to stop one from slamming into an alien planet.
If we don't get to that deflection point in time, everyone on this planet will die.
Star Trek was not alone in imagining this kind of planetary destruction. There were short stories in sci-fi magazines and a 1979 Sean Connery TV movie called Meteor.
That meteor is 5 miles wide and it's definitely going to hit us.
So when did we realize asteroids aren't just like a version of the Death Star, like something preposterous, but something we actually have to worry about?
As far as I can tell, it was only until the 80s when people started to go like, where did the dinosaurs go? Like, oh, these big beasts that seem to be everywhere just stopped at some point. So that was weird. Like, where did they go?
Today, most people agree that a giant asteroid did the dinosaurs in, but that idea wasn't articulated until 1980. That year, scientists published a paper about an element called iridium that they'd found all over the world in exactly the same sediment layer that corresponded with the dinosaurs' disappearance.
Iridium is like a weird element that you get on Earth, but you get it from asteroids, basically. So they were like, yeah, it's probably an asteroid killed them. But obviously, if you make a claim like that, you have to find the impact crater. Like, it would have to be massive.
And it turned out someone had already done that. They just didn't realize what it was.
This petrochemical company found it by mistake, by accident, off the coast of Mexico. They found this giant structure, like 110 miles wide. But they weren't interested in it. They weren't looking for oil, so they were like, whatever. Whatever. And it took another 10 years for scientists to come across that and go, whoa, what is that? Like, what's that giant hole in the ground? And so when the dots were connected, it was like the late 80s, early 90s that people are like, okay, we're 90% sure that an asteroid 6 miles wide crashed into the ground, created a firestorm, created earthquakes for days, burnt the skies, blacked out the skies, caused this mass extinction kind of thing.
Once the evidence came out that an asteroid had killed off the dinosaurs 66 million years ago, an officer in the Air Force grew very perturbed. In the early 90s, he proposed that the military invest in protecting the globe from asteroids. But even then, the very idea was laughed out of the room.
Literally no one thought it was a good idea. Like, why would you? This is ridiculous. This is sci-fi, literally, So for a couple of years, no one listened to him.
And then what happened?
And then a comet big enough to kill everyone on the planet many times over crashed into Jupiter.
In 1993, 3 astronomers taking photographs of the solar system discovered a smudge on their images that looked like a string of pearls against the black of space. When they examined the images more closely, they realized what they were seeing was a giant comet orbiting Jupiter that had broken apart into 21 very large pieces.
Each fragment punched a hole deep into Jupiter's clouds.
Any of those pieces, if they hit Earth, it was so massive and so fast, it would have killed everyone on the planet.
When it crashed back down, it left a bruise the size of the Earth.
It really, became an old crap moment sort of thing, really demonstrating that if anything like that happened to Earth, we'd all die. Maybe we shouldn't just chill. Maybe we should look out for these things.
As scientists started to sort out in earnest what that might entail and how to fund it, the public learned about another giant asteroid that lent quite a bit of urgency to the scientists' efforts.
What is this thing?
It's what we call a global killer. The end of mankind. Nothing would survive, not even bacteria.
My God.
The star of Michael Bay's 1998 disaster movie Armageddon is a freakishly large asteroid.
How big are we talking?
Sir, our best estimate is 97.6 billion.
It's the size of Texas, Mr. President.
I love that it's the size of Texas, like one of the biggest asteroids ever discovered, only 18 days before it's going to hit the planet. Embarrassingly short notice.
The film also features Ben Affleck, Billy Bob Thornton, and Bruce Willis, who plays a third-generation oil driller tapped to save the world by drilling holes for nuclear bombs on that Texas-sized asteroid.
All they got to do is drill.
That's it.
No spacewalking, no crazy astronaut stuff.
Just drill.
The movie grossed over $550 million, and a song from its soundtrack, Aerosmith's Don't Want to Miss a Thing, debuted at the top of the Billboard Hot 100.
I could stay awake just to hear you breathing.
That same summer, another blockbuster called Deep Impact also opened in theaters, with its own giant rock threatening a world where Morgan Freeman is the U.S. president.
Now, we get hit all the time by rocks and meteors, some of them the size of cars, some no bigger than your hand. This comet is larger than Mount Everest.
These twin movies, goofy as they are kind of beloved by scientists because they did a huge amount to publicize the potential danger of asteroids.
It was a weird time where politicians became very aware of the problem and the public became very aware of the problem, albeit in a slightly melodramatic way. So at that point, the astronomy community and Congress were like, could that happen to Earth? And everyone said, yep, that could if we just wait and do nothing.
So then what happened?
In 1998, Congress legally required NASA to find 90% or more of what they would call planet killers. Find all of them and make sure they're not heading towards us.
Planet killers, as their name suggests, are bigger and more dangerous than city killers. But they're also easier to see. In asking NASA to locate them, Congress was mandating planetary defense, that's what it's called, for the first time. But this is also all the planetary defense Congress funded. NASA's only task when it came to asteroids was finding the very biggest ones.
You know, for a good decade, that's all they did. And then you use computers to trace up where it's going. You tell us where it's going.
Did they do it?
They did it. Basically, they have now found 90% of all of the planet killers.
And they might be resting on their laurels right now, if not for something we've already told you about.
It actually took Chelyabinsk happening in 2013. That was the thing that really did it. That was we didn't see that coming. It could have killed people.
After Chelyabinsk, NASA and its European and Japanese counterparts started to take planetary defense more seriously. NASA got a bigger budget for it. And while they kept looking for asteroids on a collision course with Earth, they also started to ask a much more difficult question. What do we do if we find one?
The logical next step is, if you see one coming towards us, you basically need to knock it out of the way or completely destroy it. We need to rearrange the cosmos to make it more habitable. No biggie.
That's when we come back. Trust me, you don't want to miss a thing. Even if you think it's a bit overhyped, AI is suddenly everywhere, from self-driving cars to molecular medicine to business efficiency. If it's not in your industry yet, it's coming. But AI needs a lot of speed and computing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? Time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a blazing fast and secure platform for your infrastructure, database, and application development, plus all your AI and machine learning workloads. OCI costs 50% less for compute and 80% less for networking, so you're saving a pile of money. Thousands of businesses have already upgraded to OCI, including MGM Resorts, Specialized Bikes, and Fireworks AI. Right now, Oracle is offering to cut your current cloud bill in half if you move to OCI for new U.S. customers with a minimum financial commitment. Offer ends December 31st, 2024. See if your company qualifies for this special offer at oracle.com/decoder. That's oracle.com/decoder. oracle.com/decoder. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. This month is all about gratitude, but there's one person we don't thank enough: ourselves. It's sometimes hard to remind ourselves that we're trying our best to make sense of everything, and in this world, that isn't easy. Practicing gratitude can improve your personal well-being, and you might find it beneficial to learn gratitude-building techniques from a therapist. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp can help you tackle life's challenges by providing accessible and affordable care. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. With BetterHelp, you can message a professional therapist anytime, anywhere. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. If something's interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals, they may be able to help. So let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/decoder today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/decoder. If a dangerous asteroid is barreling towards Earth, it would be really helpful if we could move it out of the way. So in 2016, just a few years after that asteroid hit Chelyabinsk, NASA decided that was what it was going to try and do. It officially inaugurated the Planetary Defense Coordination Office. But how exactly do you change an asteroid's trajectory? Armageddon offered one solution.
Why don't we just send up 150 nuclear warheads and blast that rock apart?
Terrible idea.
Was I talking to you?
The popular understanding of what to do with an asteroid is that you would blow it up, right? Like that's...
Yeah.
But is that what we want to do?
So it turns out that parts of Armageddon aren't inaccurate. You basically have two choices if an asteroid is coming towards you. You blow it up or you deflect it. And in both cases, you could use a nuclear weapon. It would be a really horrifically powerful one. But that's probably what you would use if you were desperate. This is like a Hail Mary situation.
And you'd have to be desperate because though there is some poetry in using the most destructive weapons we've ever created to save humanity, nuclear bombs come with extraordinary geopolitical complications and risk. For starters, to get them into space, we have to get them off Earth.
Yeah, no one wants a nuclear weapon to blow up in the sky. That would be bad. I mean, the least bad version, it blows up on the launch pad. Again, not great. You don't want to accidentally create a dirty bomb on the launch pad. And honestly, a concern is if you try and destroy or deflect the asteroid with a nuclear weapon and it doesn't work, you've turned an asteroid into a radioactive asteroid. So, I cannot think of a worse screw up in the history of humanity than turning an asteroid into a radioactive asteroid. That's plan D, I'd say.
So what is plan A through C then?
There's a lot of weird things in plan C.
Tell me about the paint.
Yeah, I love this idea. I love how it sounds so stupid, right? If you paint one side of an asteroid in silvery white paint, it would reflect more sunlight. And because sunlight does give an asteroid a gentle nudge, you would be able to push an asteroid off course. But you'd need decades of time for this.
And what are some of the other weird ones?
One I quite like is basically the equivalent of, if there's a car chase and the police put out these spiky, tire exploding things. It's kind of like that. There's an idea that you would send a rocket out to meet the asteroid, but not get to it. You'd stop way in front of it. You'd drop these sort of roadblocks in the way, these big tungsten rods to just set up this roadblock, and the asteroid would run into it and it would basically be cheese grated into pieces before it ever gets close to Earth.
So we could nuke an asteroid. We could give an asteroid a fresh coat of paint. We could break an asteroid into pieces with metal roadblocks. But the best option of all is to punch an asteroid in the face with a spaceship.
Plan A is always, if you can, you would deflect it. That's what you want to do. You basically ram into it. Not hard enough that it breaks. You don't want it to break into multiple city-crushing size pieces. You don't want to turn a cannonball into a shotgun, basically. That's bad. You want to hit it just hard enough that you do push it back.
And that's basically what they decided to test, right?
Yeah, NASA reasonably decided, if we're going to do one planetary defense experiment first, let's go with this, ram a spacecraft into it and try and deflect it. It's the technology exists, let's go for it.
And so in 2017, NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office announced this would be its first ever mission. It would identify an appropriately sized asteroid, build a spaceship, and then send it on a kamikaze mission to said asteroid to see if smashing into that asteroid might not just move it over a little bit. Basically, smash one thing into another and see what happens. It sounds straightforward, but this is literally rocket science. And so it was not.
NASA are very good at landing on things or orbiting things. You know what they've never tried to do? Smash a spacecraft right in the middle of an object that's tiny. I think someone said it's like if you're in JFK Airport and you want to throw a dart to hit the center of a dartboard in Texas somewhere, and you're blindfolded and you've never seen the target before and you throw it and it has to hit the bullseye. It's like that.
All moving at like hundreds of thousands of miles per hour.
All moving tens of thousands of miles an hour. Yeah. So like this is hard stuff.
Fittingly, NASA named the mission DART. It is also a backronym that stands for Double Asteroid Redirection Test. Double because they decided the best way to accomplish the mission would be to target not one asteroid, but two.
There are these asteroids called binaries. It operates the same way as the moon orbiting the Earth. You have a bigger asteroid that's kind of like Earth and a smaller asteroid that's kind of like the moon.
The virtue of using these binaries, as opposed to just one asteroid, is that if you hit the smaller one, there's no risk of you accidentally sending it flying towards Earth, because it's still bound to the bigger asteroid. And it's easy to measure how its orbit changes because you can just compare it to the bigger asteroid instead of something much further away in space.
So they were looking for a binary asteroid system, and they found a perfect one that they named Didymos and Dimorphos. They both basically mean twin. The bigger asteroid is like, it could destroy a large country if it hit Earth, sort of thing. It's quite big. And the smaller asteroid, Dimorphos, that is like football stadium size, a bit bigger than that. It's exactly the size of asteroid you want to test to see if you can hit. So they were like, we're going to punch Dimorphos in the face really hard and see what happens.
These twinned asteroids were never going to collide with Earth, but they were the exact right size for a productive dress rehearsal. And so NASA began working to get this asteroid punching mission off the ground.
They had maybe 5 years to come up with a concept of this, get all the parts, put it together, make sure it could launch on time, get the right target, convince everyone it's still a good idea.
How much did it cost?
Yeah, so it cost $314 million, which sounds like a lot of money, but compared to almost any other mission that they've developed, it's nothing. It had to do a lot with very little.
Ultimately, thousands of scientists and engineers got to work building a 1,200-pound vending machine-sized spacecraft that was going to have to fly about 7 million miles from Earth at roughly 14,000 miles per hour, all to hit a target just 530 feet in diameter. The craft had to essentially be able to fly itself because at the end of its journey, it would be so far from Earth, there would be a 30-second lag time between it and mission control. And it was going to have to do something very hard at the end of its journey. Recognize an asteroid that scientists had never seen in detail themselves.
The only reason they knew Dimorphos existed was because it was seen as like a tiny speck of light, a little smudge, maybe it was bigger than they thought. They didn't know what shape it could be.
NASA was programming the spacecraft to smash directly into the center of the asteroid. But in reality, so little was known about Dimorphos that the NASA team joked nervously about it being shaped like a donut. One dart would fly right through the middle of. And there would be no way to know if this was the case until the mission was all but over.
It had to hit exactly perfectly on a bullseye. It scored a perfect 10 first time, and no one had ever attempted this in the history of humanity. So, yeah, there was a lot of pressure on it working.
In the days leading up to the launch, the team watched a double feature of Armageddon and Deep Impact to prepare for a mission that to this point had only been attempted in the movies. And NASA itself embraced the drama on NASA TV.
In a galaxy where asteroids have pummeled planets for billions of years, now one planet strikes back.
November 24th, 2021 was DART launch day, with the ship taking off from Vandenberg Space Force Base in Santa Barbara, California.
Overnight tonight, NASA is going to launch the double asteroid redirection test.
A rare mission to crash into an asteroid.
It's the first time scientists are attempting such an experiment.
In addition to being covered in the news, the launch was also broadcast live.
At the moment, everything is still go for launch. No red flags, everything looking right on course.
NASA C's go.
SMA?
SMA is go.
The DART scientists and engineers knew that this was their opportunity to prove the value of investing in planetary defense. If the mission failed, it was likely the whole thing would be considered a waste of resources, not to be attempted again anytime soon.
T-minus 20 seconds.
T-minus 15.
Like, this could just miss. Like, if this doesn't work, are people going to believe that this is worth doing? And to some extent, the future safety of the planet rested on this mission, so they were nervous.
At 10:21 p.m. Pacific time, DART launched on the back of a rocket.
1. And liftoff of the Falcon 9 and DART on NASA's first planetary defense test to intentionally crash into an asteroid.
A lot of these scientists and engineers were just whooping and cheering and then suddenly realizing that they had no control over it anymore.
For the next 10 months, the DART team could do little more than watch and wait.
So, it wasn't a science mission. It was a test of, can we save the planet?
Can we? After the break. Apple Card is the perfect card for your holiday shopping. When you use Apple Card on your iPhone, you'll earn up to 3% daily cash back on every purchase, including products at Apple like a new iPhone 16 or Apple Watch Ultra. Apply now in the Wallet app on your iPhone. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com. You know when you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you bump on repeat and have to share with your friends? That's what it feels like when you discover Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. Slate's president, Charlie Kammerer, is using Mint Mobile, and he's on the $15 a month deal. And it's getting unlimited talk and text over their 5G network at literally a fraction of what he was paying with someone else. He thinks more people should be trying it out. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number, along with all your existing contacts. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/decoder ring. That's mintmobile.com/decoder ring. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/decoder ring. $45 upfront payment required, which is equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. On September 26, 2022, 10 months after it had launched, the DART spacecraft was finally closing in on its destination.
We are monitoring a live situation right now. NASA is about to intentionally crash a spacecraft into an asteroid.
DART was due to die at 7 p.m.-ish.
That day, Robin George Andrews arrived at Johns Hopkins University in Maryland, the site of mission control. There were hundreds of people gathered in auditoriums there, friends and family of NASA scientists and engineers. Bill Nye, the science guy, was also there, and one of those slightly terrifying robot dogs, too.
It was like a festival atmosphere. They were like not 100% sure it was going to hit, but they were like ready to celebrate. There was a mission control room where everyone looked really nervous.
What does it physically look like? I mean, does it look like I'm literally just imagining, we've all seen like Apollo 13 and like its mission control. What did it actually look like?
Yeah, so the mission control, the central room of mission control, like honestly, it really looked a lot like the dashboard of an X-Wing in Star Wars. So, like all these like weird retro graphics, things bleeping. There's just like numbers everywhere. That's what it looks like.
All the bleeps and beeps and lights and graphics and numbers were giving the team information about DART. But they couldn't actually control DART. It was too far away. They were watching too, all of which was captured by NASA TV.
And tonight, we're following the real-time journey of the DART spacecraft and its planned collision with asteroid Dimorphos.
The atmosphere kept veering from like really excitable to really tense when they had to announce like a key milestone.
You could hear a pin drop right now as we're coming up on the critical 20-minute mark from impact. The team is hyper-focused.
Keep an eye on the DART cam in the lower left-hand corner of your screen.
The DART cam was a live stream from the DART spacecraft's own camera. At first, all it showed was the big black of the universe, with just one tiny speck in the middle.
For a while, like, people couldn't tell if a speck of dust was on the screen or if it was Dimorphos, because it was so tiny, you know. And because these things are moving so quickly, this small asteroid, the target, went from a silvery speck to like a complete world in like minutes.
Starting to see Dimorphos start to come into view there. You can see it starting to take shape.
It was this like silvery world of boulders and rocks, and it looked like the most space age potato I've ever seen.
It's amazing, guys. Oh my goodness, look at that. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Looks to me like we're headed straight in.
Yeah, were you worried?
I was really nervous. I was just watching the faces of the engineers, like, squeezing all the blood out of their limbs. They were so nervous.
Oh, boy, we're getting close.
I saw someone crush a coffee cup in their hands, like getting coffee all over them. I've never heard scientists swear more in my life. It was a crazy thing to see, honestly, right up until the, like, very last second. You just think, maybe it will miss.
Oh my goodness. 8, 7, 6.
Wow.
All you could see was this asteroid bloom ever larger on the screen.
What?
And then the screen went bright red, which is a very jarring color.
Oh, wow.
Awaiting visual confirmation.
And people started cheering.
And we have impact.
After there was just this like increasing roar of people crying and high-fiving, and people like I've never met, just like fist bumping me. It honestly was one of the most moving things I've ever seen, not just in my career, but just in my whole life. Genuinely, it was incredible.
Robin even saw a number of scientists, their arms thrown around each other's shoulders, tipsily wandering out of a room, singing.
And they were just, you know, don't worry, mister. And it was just, I was like, yes!
Shortly after, they got further confirmation that the mission had worked to at least some extent when they heard from astronomers in South Africa, the first to witness DART's impact by telescope.
On their screens, there was this like bright light. It looked like an explosion, honestly, had happened. It was so clear that not only had they hit it, but the spacecraft had just been vaporized and debris of some sort was flying off the asteroid. So they're like, oh, what? We didn't just hit it. We hit it hard, like almost surprisingly hard. Like they were like, we've really rung its bells.
It took a few weeks to collect and process additional observations, but when they did, it ultimately confirmed the best possible news.
NASA's DART mission worked.
It's the first time it's ever been done.
Streaking toward its asteroid target,
than impact.
We showed the world that NASA is serious as a defender of this planet. This is a watershed moment for humanity.
They hit it perfectly, exactly where they said they were going to, within a meter or something, show-offs. And they had hit it so hard that its orbit shrank, which meant they knocked Dimorphos closer to the bigger asteroid Didymos.
And that was the key thing. They hit an asteroid hard enough to change its orbit. And that means faced with a dangerous asteroid, a city killer coming towards Earth, we could do it again. In the coming years, China is going to try their hand at this. And NASA is now launching a giant camera up into space to make sure we can see every last potential city killer and make sure they are not on target for Earth.
By the 2040s, we'll know for a century if Earth's in danger of this sort of disaster or not. That's an amazing thing. That's like, that is like magic to me. For the history of the entire planet and our species, this has been a fundamental problem that we would never have any chance of knowing it was there or doing anything. And within like a few decades, they've identified the problem and would have managed to cancel it out. Like that will never happen with almost anything else. To remove one bit of existential dread completely from people's lives is incredible.
There are a lot of scary problems out there. But today you can take heart that Houston, we won't have this problem anymore. Would you say is it a feel-good story?
It's absolutely a feel-good story. It's a feel-good story that also happens to be true.
This is Decoder Ring. I'm Willa Paskin. If you have any cultural mysteries you want us to decode, please email us at decoderring@slate.com. This episode was written and produced by Sofie Kodner. It was edited by me and Evan Chung. Decoder Ring is produced by me, Evan, Max Freedman, and Katie Shepherd with help from Sofie. Derek John is executive producer. Merritt Jacob is senior technical director. I want to tell you to go out and please buy Robin's very great book, How to Kill an Asteroid, which contains so much more fun and delightful and astounding information about the stuff going on in space and NASA than we possibly could have included here. And if you aren't already a Slate Plus member, I want to strongly encourage you to become one. You can subscribe right now on Apple Podcasts by clicking Try Free at the top of the Decoder Ring show page. Or you can visit slate.com/decoderplus to get access wherever you listen. We're going to be releasing bonus episodes regularly, including answers to your mailbag questions, so please sign up now. Slate Plus members also get to listen to our show and every other Slate podcast without any ads, and you'll get unlimited access to Slate's website, too. Again, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts by clicking Try Free or visit slate.com/decoderplus to sign up. If you haven't yet, besides signing up for Slate Plus, I would also love you to please subscribe and rate our feed in Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. And even better, tell your friends. We'll see you in 2 weeks.